Today we're going to be talking about Google Maps and how to use it. Why am I talking about Google Maps? It's because we're still seeing a whole lot of questions talking about how do I get from this place to this place? How do I go? How do I I'm here currently, where do I go, etc., etc. And I think by now, or my assumption was that everybody knows how to use Google Maps, so that's why we didn't really do an information guide or tutorial about it. But maybe this assumption was wrong, and maybe people aren't quite sure how to use Google Maps. So let's see if this particular tutorial helps you, okay? Because the main goal here is how we can get you guys up and running so that you can actually use Google Maps and then you don't need to rely on anyone else, including me, okay? So let's get into it. So the first thing here, okay, is we've got this thing about why is it important, okay? And the first thing is that in most countries, you can actually still use Google Maps and get around, but you just kind of need to know how to do it, how to use the app, and if the distances between the places are fairly close, you can still use it. But if it's not so close and if you're planning to drive, you can still use it. If it's too far and you're relying on, and you still need to use tour agencies and buses and stuff like that, then private transportation, then you don't really need Google Maps, okay? But it's really for places like Singapore that are very convenient, okay, where everything is in one place, right? A good example is Marina Bay. So those people who haven't been to Marina Bay, go and check it out, right? I'm going to go through a little tutorial a bit later on here just to show you exactly how far things are, how accessible places are if you just go on Google Maps and just go around, okay? So it is possible to go to a place not knowing the language and still DIY, okay? I'll give you a good example, right, a bit later on, but it's a very, very good example, okay? Okay, the second thing is that first time is always difficult, okay? So whichever country you go to, the first time will be different, right? And your expectations may not always match up, okay? So for example, when I first came to Singapore, like over 20 years ago, my expectation of Singapore, and it's wrong, okay, is that it was full of huts, like, the African tribes with huts, and this was like in the 90s, right? This is before, the internet really became popular, and I didn't really Google it, and I just kind of hopped on a plane, and I was expecting to see like Singapore with all these huts and stuff, and then I found out, kind of touched out at Changi Airport, and then had a look, and I was like, oh, okay, I've mismatched that, and then kind of went to somebody's house, and it's like, oh, what a nice house. Oh, what a nice swimming pool. And it's like Orchard Road at the time, right? It was like, oh, wow, no huts here, right? So everybody has a different expectation, and you can never really get it spot on first time. But with Google Maps, you can actually see what it's like even before you step on a plane. Okay, you can see it from your desktop at home, and I'll show you how to do that as well. Okay, the other thing about Google Maps is it allows you to size your day correctly. Okay, you may think, oh, okay, the places are really far apart, like in your own mind without checking. And you think, oh, the places are really, really far apart. I can only do 2 attractions in a day. Little do you know, if you actually go in and plot those places on a map, you actually find out, oh, actually I can do like 6 or 7 different places in a day, right? Because everywhere is really close, right? And transportation-wise, it doesn't take me 3 hours to get from one place to another. It only takes me like 10 minutes, right? Again, another thing which you didn't really know, right? Unless you actually go in and check. Google Maps shows you what you can expect, okay? And the great thing about it is that it's flexible, okay? So if you say you're going from A to B, and then for whatever reason on that particular day, you don't start at A and you don't end up at B. You don't start at A to get to B. You're at point D, for example, and D going to B is a different way. You just plot it in Google Maps, press the start button, and then you can actually see, oh, go this way, and you can still get to destination B, right? It's totally flexible, right? And it's free. So as long as you have your GPS updates, right? So you turn on your 4G, right? Turn it on. It'll the GPS will see where you are. It'll triangulate and figure out where you are, and then it'll say, okay, this is the best way to get there. That's all you really need. Okay, you do not need a tour guide. Singapore is one of these places where you do not need a tour guide. There may be some situations where you do, okay, and I will come across that, but in general, for a lot of people, you do not need a tour guide. Okay, so let's get into it. I will give you this example, right? This is one of the first times I used Google Maps, okay? It's a place in Malaysia, okay? So if you have a look on the right, you'll see there's this place, it doesn't really say, but this area here is a place called Desaru, okay? It's a kind of beachy type resort, right, on the right side of Malaysia. Singapore is down here, okay, and so we drove over to Malaysia, right, and we stayed at this beachside resort, and we said, hey, you know, want to do some things with the kids, and they said, okay, let's look for something interesting, and I said, oh, okay, there's this thing, fireflies, right, as in kind of like the flies, but at night time they've got the light, kind of little light showing out of their bum, right? So I thought, oh, okay, it'd be really interesting. I've never seen it, right? My kids definitely haven't seen it, so it's like, let's go. But there was one problem. We didn't know where it was. So all I did is I went into Google Maps. So this is the desktop version of Google Maps. So I went into Google Maps and I typed in Firefly, press enter, and then I saw, oh, okay, there's this particular place. Clicked on that. This pop-up came through, and I clicked on directions. Okay, now from directions, next page, right, it'll put in where you are, it'll say where you're going, and it'll tell you, okay, you take route number 90, it'll take 15 minutes, it's 10.7 kilometers, okay, and it'll even show you where you need to go, okay. This time it was a car, okay, but the same principle applies if you're walking or whatever, right? So you get in the car and you just follow the road, right? It'll say turn left, turn right, go straight, all this stuff. And then you go in here and it's like, okay, you look in the map and it's like, all right, this looks good. Now keep in mind that fireflies happen at nighttime, okay? So if you're going to be going there, it's going to be like night, okay? So so what we did is we headed out this way, okay, and this particular spot here, right, if you actually click on Google on the path itself, use your mouse and you just click on that, it'll come up with this thing called Street View, okay, and this is the really nice part about Google Maps, okay. You click on Street View and ta-da, this is what you see, okay. So going back, as long as you click on this, right, place a marker, right, just click on the screen, okay, to like along the path or anything, you click Street View and then you will see the actual Street View. So what Google Maps does is they had previously sent a vehicle with a 3D kind of 360 camera on top of the vehicle, and then they drive past and just record everything that they see, okay. So what happens is you will see that's this part, right? And then if you continue down the road, so we were back here and we've moved a little bit forward, right, down the road, you can click on this, right, the arrow, and it will take you forward to the next spot and forward and forward and forward round the corner, okay? So it actually goes all the way through here, and you reach all the way at the end here, right, which is actually the jetty area where they have the firefly thing, okay? Now, the scary thing was, okay, at the time, it was our first time, and it was nighttime, and it was all pitch dark. Okay, so there's no street lights along here. It was all just dark. Okay, we couldn't see where we were going. We were the only car going through what looked like to me, as the driver, as a plantation, just driving really slowly through a plantation. Anyone could have come out of the plantation left and right, stopped my car and robbed us or whatever. We really didn't know. Okay, but but again, if you've already seen, you go into Google Maps and you go to this street view, you can actually see, oh, okay, it does go through a plantation. So when you're actually going through there, you know what to expect, okay, and you know how far the plantation is, right? It actually goes down this road here. Okay, so that's just giving you an idea what it's about. Okay, so now we're going to have a look at a couple of examples, okay, and I'm going to show you how this works, right, in practice. Okay, so before we do, let's start with this. Okay, it's much easier to do your planning if you are on a computer. Okay, you can possibly do it on a mobile phone, but I've tried it and I find it quite troublesome because the screen is small. You have to zoom in, you have to click here and there. It's just not very user friendly. Okay, it's good on a mobile phone if you already have the stuff planned and then you just kind of on the ground and then you go and follow your phone. Okay, that's fine. The bit that is not fine is doing the planning part. Okay, so if you're, for example, looking at the street view, it's a lot easier to do it on a laptop or a desktop computer, right? It is a whole lot easier, right? The second thing is you should save your destinations. I'll come to this and I'll show you what it means, okay? So I'm going to start with something basic, all right? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do planning. I'm going to show you how to do a start and an end, okay? Your goal is to follow the plan, okay? Look at the street view, like what I did with that forest jungle plantation thing, right? Look at the street view, right? You can also save the plan, okay, by sharing it to your notes, okay? So you can export, so it'll come out as a link, a web link. You can save it in your notes, in your spreadsheet or in your WhatsApp notes or whatever, okay? And then we're going to do this as an example, say for example, Lau Pa Sat to Merlion, okay? So let's have a look at this now. Here we go. All right. So say for example, so this is my account. I have nothing in here, right? So we're starting from fresh. I know where Lau Pa Sat is. It's here. Okay. So let's say I want to do some planning. Okay. I would go, I'm just zooming in with my scrolly mouse, right here, right? And then I scroll in here and I go Lau Pa Sat, it's there. And then you see this part, I can actually save the location. So if I click on that, it's got favorites, want to go, travel plans, star places. You can add a few more titles if you want. But just for demo purposes, I'm just going to put it as want to go, for example. Okay, and then you'll see it turns into a green tag. Okay, so later on, you can actually see all of your green tags, right? So if you go view list, oh, it's not there. Okay, it should be there later, I think. Okay, anyway, all right, so what we'll do, okay, is we'll go Lau Pa Sat, and then we go to directions, and you click, okay, you can click up and down, right? So let's say you wanted to start at Lau Pa Sat, okay, which is here, and then you wanted to go to Merlion, okay, and you see there's a few Merlions. One is Merlion Park, and look at that, it does it all for you, and it shows you, okay, it's a 12-minute walk, it'll take 900 meters, right, if you walk like this. Okay, Lau Pa Sat, follow here, all this stuff. Alright, now, remember I was talking to you about the street view. Okay, so I'm going to scroll in here. Okay, so let's go here. Okay, so here you've got, if you go by public transport, here's if you go, it's 8 minutes by car. If you take a bike, it's 7. Bicycle is 5, 13 minutes, or you can take public transport. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I zoom in and I will click, let's say, something here. Okay, so remember I said you click it once and then this thing pops up saying Street View. Okay, so I'll do it again. I'll close this. Let's say click here. Okay, Street View, and look at this. Okay, and then you can click and turn to the left. You can click and drag. So I'll click and turn to the right, and click and turn to the left. Okay, you can even look up and down. Okay, it's as though you were standing there at that spot that you clicked. That's the amazing thing about it. Okay, so you see here, Lau Pa Sat, this is Lau Pa Sat. This is what Lau Pa Sat looks like. So even before you've stepped on a plane, okay, you already know what Lau Pa Sat looks like. Then if you follow the line, right, if you see this, oops, go back here. Here we go. Okay. Zoom in. Where is it? Zoom in some more. Okay. So that was Lau Pa Sat. Okay. We can double click and go up the street. Double click again and go up the street. Right? Or we can go this way. Right? Tends to be running a bit. Let's do this again. Street view. Oh. Let's do this again. Alright. Click here. Okay, street view. Okay, and then we're going to go up this way. Right, you'll see the office buildings. You'll see, oh, okay, there's a Watson's here. Now, something to note is that this shows you February 2024. So when the Google car went past and it did the capture, the 360 capture of everything around it, okay, that was done in 2024. Okay, so it wasn't long ago. It's like 2 months ago, right? Or less than 2 months ago. So Watson's was there 2 months ago. If you're confused and you're standing there at the street corner, you look for Watson's and you say, oh yeah, I remember seeing Watson's. It was on Google Maps. Then you just keep following, you know, where you need to go, right? You keep going down. So you'll be walking down this street. Right, double click again, double click again, double click again, and you'll see that structure. Okay, so you're walking from Lau Pa Sat towards Merlion. You'll see this structure. This is Raffles Place, okay, the main CBD in Singapore. You will then need to cross the road and go turn right. Okay, here. This is so you can zoom in, just again use the scrolly thing, okay? Zoom in, scroll, right? Customs House, so you will see that. That was taken in October 2021. Customs House is still there. Oops. And then we just double click this direction and this direction. So this is actually what you see, right? So if I was to walk here today, it's exactly what I see, right? This part hasn't changed. You'll see the Fullerton Bay Hotel. So if you're walking, you keep going this way and this way, and you keep walking up and more. Oops. Oops. Let's It's not letting me go forward. Let me refresh this, hold on. It's glitchy. Okay, this up. Yeah, so once Lau Pa Sat. So this is the thing about doing it on a desktop. You can do it, right? It's just sometimes it's a bit glitchy. And we're going Merlion Park. Okay, and we're up to about here. This is Marina, that Fullerton Hotel. Let's continue here. It is... Oh, I think because I blocked it off. So you actually have to walk along the street area. I think that's why. Okay, anyway, you keep going down there. I don't think Google Maps goes down that far. But anyway, you can go forward and forward and forward. You turn down here. Ah, there you go. It's taking you down the stairs. Okay, down the stairs, and now this is Marina Bay area. Okay, so you actually walk. Lau Pa Sat is down there, and then you walked all the way up here. I know it couldn't actually go through, but you walk all the way up here. You see on the right, there's Marina Bay Sands, Singapore Flyer, Art Science Museum, right? And you keep walking straight and straight. See that blue line? Right? We're still walking up towards there. And there you go. That's a Merlion. So you see everyone doing their thing, right? This was back in 2018. Okay, but the Merlion is still there. That hasn't changed either. Alright? Okay, so yeah, it gives you the fantastic thing is, right, Google Maps lets you do all of this from the comfort of your own home. You don't need to be in the country and try and stress and figure it out and don't get lost and all this. If you've revised this so many times and you've looked at the street view so many times, seriously, it'll be as though you've already been to that country. Okay, that's the feeling. And I know because I've been to Japan and I've used this method before. Okay, it's exactly the same method. My first time in Japan, and I did everything by Street View, Google Maps, the whole thing, such that when I landed in Japan and then had to bring the whole family around, I knew where I was going. It was like, I knew I had to go this way. I've seen this landmark before. Turn this way, turn that. It was really, really easy. Okay, so what you can do, right, after you've done the plot, okay, you can actually go here, right? These were all the details, right? But you can actually go and copy the link. Okay, so it says copy to clipboard. Right, so let's say you have a notepad, just for demo purposes. Okay, you have a notepad here, and then you just paste here. Okay, so you can just write Lau Pa Sat to Merlion Park. Okay, and that's it. Okay, and then let's say you wanted, okay, so this is the main part, all right? So we've done this, right? We set a start, we set an end, we followed the plan, we looked at the street view, right? Then we saved the plan, right, by sharing it to your notes, which is what we've done. We've kept on a separate piece of paper, okay? And then we've gone through the example. Now, if you wanted to take it to the next level and to do something a bit more advanced, okay, so this is for the person doing the plans for everybody and who wants to see the route for that particular area. Okay, so you've heard, for example, right, Lau Pa Sat, Merlion Park, Helix Bridge, Gardens by the Bay, Esplanade, Singapore Flyer, Marina Bay Sands, but you don't exactly know where they are. You don't know which one you should do first. Okay, now this is the way. Okay, I'm going to show you. So we've got Lau Pa Sat, Merlion Park, Helix Bridge, Gardens by the Bay. Let's have a look. Okay, so again, keep it on walking view. Okay, all you got to do is there's this button called Add Destination. Okay, so you've done Lau Pa Sat, Merlion. What's the next one that we wanted? Helix Bridge. So I'm just going to write Helix Bridge. And then I'm going to add another one called Gardens by the Bay. By the Bay. Like that. And then I'm going to add Esplanade, Singapore Flyer. Esplanade here. Singapore Flyer. And Marina Bay Sands. Okay. Now, so I've got all of these here, right? If I wanted to just kind of follow the steps like this, right? And just randomly, you know, just take it and just follow 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Actually, it'll get me about 6 kilometers worth of walking, and it'll take me like an hour, right? Or an hour and a half. So what I want to do is I want to use this part on the left to actually drag and reorder. Okay, reorder things. Now, for example, right? If now that you zoom in and you look at it, you say, okay, we've got Lau Pa Sat. Let's say we start walking at Lau Pa Sat, right? And we walk up. Oh, there's Merlion Park, Jubilee Bridge. Okay, Esplanade. The next natural one is Esplanade. So instead of Esplanade being further down the list, you actually click and drag it up like this and drop. Okay? So we've actually reduced it from 6 kilometers to 4.7 kilometers because you don't actually go somewhere else and then come back. You've just taken whatever's in the path, right? Really, really easy. Then you have a look and you see, okay, so there's more here. There's the Helix Bridge, okay? Then there's the Singapore Flyer. Maybe it makes sense to do the Singapore Flyer next. Like that. And now it's down to 3.7 kilometers. And then from there you do the Helix Bridge, okay, which is there. Then you may want to do Marina Bay Sands next, right? And then from Marina Bay Sands, you go to Gardens by the Bay, right? And then you end at Gardens by the Bay. Actually, Gardens by the Bay is here, but it doesn't go all the way in. Okay, so it gives you a rough idea. And you see we've cut it down to 3.7 kilometers. And instead of an hour and a half, it's now nearly an hour. Okay, so it's really, really important that you've done this. Okay, and again, if you want the path, click copy. Okay, go to your notes and just put Marina Bay area and paste, just like that. Okay, so later on, okay, what you'll see is, because you've logged in right here, right, on your desktop, you actually should go into your mobile phone and log in your mobile phone, right? And then you can actually pull up the maps and all of that stuff, okay? Now, one of the important things, I'm just going to remove all this, okay? One of the important things that I did mention is tagging the particular place. So, for example, Lau Pa Sat, right? Merlion Park, okay? That's the attraction. I'm going to tag this as well as want to go. I'm going to put Esplanade. Okay, and I'll show you why this is important. Okay, Esplanade, I'm going to tag this as well. I'm also going to tag, was it Helix Bridge? Like this. Whereas want to go. And Singapore Flyer. Okay, I'll just use these as examples, right? Now, even though, for example, right, you wanted to go from Lau Pa Sat, right? Where is Lau Pa Sat? Here. We want to go from Lau Pa Sat all the way through to Merlion Park, from here to here, right? And even though you've planned it, things may not always happen the way that you plan it, okay? For example, you might say, okay, based on the plan, I'm going to go from here and I'm going to walk all the way up the street. But for whatever reason, right, somebody needs to say, somebody says, hey, I've got this brilliant idea. Let's go to Anxiang Hill Park, okay? Let's go there first before we go to Merlion. So your initial plan of Lau Pa Sat to Merlion, yeah, okay, you want to go and follow it, but there was a change, right? And so now you end up somehow going from Lau Pa Sat to Anxiang Hill Park. And the question then becomes, how do you go from Lau Pa Sat to here? Again, same type of thing, right? You can click here, right? Go directions, and you can, and you can say, I'm going from Lau Pa Sat, like that. And it'll show you, oh, okay, this is the walking path, this is the way that you've got to go. All right, just like that. Okay, it'll take you 7 minutes, it's 500 meters. And if you want to copy that, you can copy that, right? But you actually don't need to, you just go and follow the path, okay? But then you say, okay, well, I want to get back to my original plan, right? I'm at Anxiang Hill Park. I want to go to the original plan, which was from here to, let's say I want to go to Esplanade. Okay, we don't have time for Merlion anymore. Go to Esplanade, right? You can either click Esplanade here, or you could, or you could go to list. Hopefully the list pops up. There you go. These are all the ones that we tagged as with the green tag. Okay, all of the ones here. So all your attractions. If you see, right, if I move the cursor down, it moves from here, right? Here are all the different poppy bits, right? They all pop up and down. Right, so let's say I want to go to Esplanade from here. Click on that. Okay, and just go directions. Just put from Anxiang, right? Or wherever you are, right? Like, I'm not there now, but if you were there now, you'd just click on your location. And the GPS will track exactly where you are. And then it will say, go this way, turn left, turn right, etc. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you the next part. Okay, so this is all done. When you're actually on the ground, okay, this is what matters. Okay? Now, you've got your mobile phone, right? And you're choosing the destination. Then you choose directions, which is what we saw. Then you click the start button. Now, when you're doing that, it is important that you are holding, I'm going to change screens, right? But when you're doing that, it is important that you're actually holding the phone like this, okay? In portrait mode, right? The top of the phone, the bottom of the phone, and you're holding it like this in front of you, okay? Do not hold your phone like this, because you're going to get really confused which way to go and all that stuff. The easiest way is like this, okay? In front. And then if you find, right, that the blue dots, okay, the path which you're supposed to take, if your blue dots are, let's say, some pointing this way, right? So on your phone, it's got the blue dots pointing this way, right? What you got to do is point your body like that and follow straight in the direction of the blue dots, okay? You spin your body to follow the blue dots. That is the correct way to do it, okay? Don't spin your phone upside down and get confused, okay? It's always hold your phone like this, right? In a portrait fashion, okay? And then if there are blue dots that way, you turn your whole body and walk that way so that it's straight, right? And you follow the blue dots. Okay, so that is the most important thing. Otherwise, you are going to get lost, and we don't want you to do that, okay? So if you're off track, like I said, the best thing about it is Google Maps will actually reorientate you and bring you back to show you the right way to walk. Okay, so that's the best thing about Google Maps. Now, what I'm going to do is move to the next part. Okay, again, like I showed you before, this is the view from your mobile phone. Okay, so when you're on the ground, you will see there are different choices. There's if you want to start at Lau Pa Sat, right, and you walked in the wrong direction, you type Merlion Park, for example, press on directions and click from my location, right? And then if it asks for permission, say yes, and then you follow the walking path. Okay, now this is 16 minutes if you walk. Okay, just as an example. Okay, but let's say you decide, hey, you know, I want to catch a train. I'm too tired. I don't want to walk all this way. There is a train or bus, right, or public transport. There is another option, and that is, right, again on Google Maps, there's this thing saying 9 minutes, okay, and it's got the sign of a train. So you click on that, and you will see, oh, okay, step 1 is you click on it. Step 2 is it'll show you the options here. Okay, oops, better change the screen. All right, sorry, do that again. So yeah, so it's the idea of the public transport here, okay, and then you'll see, right, down here you go step 2, right, it'll show bus 57 or 131. Okay, you click on that, then it'll come up with the guide and show you, oh, okay, you can, if you catch bus 57, it'll come in, you know, a couple of minutes, right? And then you can zoom in. So this part you can pinch and just make it bigger, right? Zoom in to step 3 here, okay? And then you can push the map down, right? Follow the map, and then you come to the end right here, zoom in again, and then you say, okay, I've got to walk this way, right? And it shows you exactly how to get there, right? So the beautiful thing about it is you can choose between different ways of getting there, okay? All right, so I hope that has really been helpful for you, right? I hope to see fewer questions about how to get here and there, right? I'll still answer it, but I'm just hoping that you guys can learn from it and that you're able to navigate on your own, right? Because this doesn't only apply to Singapore. This applies to every country that Google Maps can be used, okay? Which is many, many countries, okay? So unless you have some mobility challenges, okay, the rest of us can really DIY, right? See, you know, I've said it in previous videos before. In Singapore, everything is really, really close. Like I showed you around Marina Bay, right? You can do it in like 3.7 kilometers, and you've hit like quite a number of different attractions, right? It's really not difficult. Supposing that you're not challenged with walking, right, or mobility in general. Okay, if you are, then there are other ways to get around, right, which we'll come to. One of the things is the MRT, right? So just to give you an idea, right, of costs, okay, so you can assess different ways, right? So one is the MRT fares cost between $1 and $2 per person, per trip per person. Okay, so if there are 5 of you, let's say 4 of you, right, the maximum it'll cost is $8, right, for 4 of you to get from one place to another. That's the maximum, but that's quite far in Singapore, right? Most of your trips will probably be like $1, like $1.10, maybe $1.20, $1.30, right? Times 4 of you, that's not much. That'll be like less than $6, right? So that gives you an idea. Versus if 4 of you hopped into a taxi, it'll cost you about maybe $15 to $25, depending on how far you're traveling and the time of day, right? Peak hours, you will get all the surcharges and all that stuff. And then if you're going for private transport, right, like stuff like this, if you see on the screen, right, private transport is expensive, okay? Here you'll see it's point to point, it's $70. If you want it on a per hour basis, it's $70 per hour. If you ask for private transport to pick you up from the airport or drop you at the airport, here are the prices. an hourly chauffeur, a minimum of 3 hours for them to bring you around, then that's going to be $70. So the prices are quite high, right? So I know, again, a lot of people have asked questions about private transport. Private transport within Singapore, if you do not have mobility challenges, you really can go by MRT, bus. Bus is not preferred because it's hard to kind of judge when to get on and get off. And then taxis if you must, right? But hiring a car for like a day, right? I know some people have said, how much does it cost to hire a car for a day or to do a city tour, right? Hey, if you want to go around Marina Bay, that's like 3 kilometers or something. You don't want to hire a car for 3 hours on a quote unquote city tour and pay $200 something to go 3 kilometers, right? It doesn't make sense. Okay. And then the tour buses, right? Some people have reached out saying that they have larger groups. Okay. So the larger groups, it probably works out not too expensive, right? It's probably about the same as a MRT fare, right? But this will only apply if your groups are fairly large. Okay. Say for example, a 23-seater bus. Okay, it'll cost you $85 per transfer. So a transfer is from A to B. It does not mean travel around, for 6 hours in a day or 3 hours in a day or anything like that. It's just A to B. Okay, so that it's the equivalent of that $1 to $2 per person per trip. Okay, times. So it'll work out this is nearly $3 plus $4. Right, around there per person per trip. But I guess, if you've got a whole lot of children in a bus, for example, right, let's say it's a school trip or whatever, children in a bus, it's just going to be easier rather than bringing, 23 kids on the MRT. Is everyone still here? Where's Johnny? He's missing. You probably don't want that. Okay. English is the primary language. It is really easy to get around. The signs are all in English. Chinatown, maybe you get a few Chinese signs, but if you follow Google Maps, it's really easy. Turn left, turn right. The street names are in English in Google Maps as well. Singapore is small, as I've mentioned. You can cover 10 attractions in half a day just by walking. Local discount tickets are available, so you don't need to buy them from a travel agent, right? You can get them discount if you want any. You can come and ask me. It's definitely cheaper than buying at the counter. Okay, so last week we had a couple of people saying, I want to go to this particular place, and they just messaged me like 2 hours before. They said, we want to go to the zoo, right? And I said, okay, fine, how many people? And then we were able to ticket, I think within about half an hour, get the payment sorted, get the tickets into their hands even before they arrived at the zoo. Right, so that worked out really well. Tickets are definitely cheaper, and then if you are looking at comparing with Klook, it is often cheaper than Klook. Not all the time, but most places they're either very, very close or we are cheaper than Klook. Okay, so you can always reach out for that. Right, so really there are only 2 things that you need to make a successful DIY holiday. Okay, whether you're traveling alone, in a group, as a family, in a larger family group, it doesn't matter. There are only 2 things you need. Number 1 is Google Maps and confidence. Okay, Google Maps and confidence, right? The confidence comes from you. Okay, it all comes from you. It doesn't come from anyone else. You just got to have the confidence to use Google Maps, to understand it, and to follow the instructions. Okay, it tells you. So just follow the instructions. So my best advice to you, right, before going is to try Google Maps in your own country. For most of us who have Androids, right, it's already installed in your app store, right? So Google Maps is already there. Click on it in your own country. Let's say you're going to work, right? Put in your work destination, right, in there, and click directions and click start. And follow the directions going to work. Be familiar with that. If you're going to a shopping center, you go and do that. and then click, and just get used to using Google Maps. Once you use it, I tell you, it is so easy. I still use it driving around Singapore, right? So if my kids say, I've got to go to my friend's house, I'll put in the address in Google Maps and just follow, right? I've never been there before. Last week I went to Malaysia for a couple of days. We went to eat at various new places which I've never been to. Put it in Google Maps and just follow. It is really that simple. It's the confidence to follow the instructions. You get that and you're set, right? You can do any holiday in any country, right? Again, provided that mobility is not an issue and provided that the attractions are somewhat close together, right? And have transportation so you can DIY. Okay, so that's my best advice to you, right? Start using Google Maps in your home country. Get used to it. I've said a lot here. I've mentioned Google Maps probably 100 times. It is not sponsored, okay? If you want to use a different app, right, go ahead and use the different app. Right? In Singapore, Google Maps is the primary thing that everyone else uses. So that's why I mentioned Google Maps. They're not paying me for it. It's just what I use. So that's why I'm sharing it with you guys. Okay? Not sponsored. All right. So this brings us to the end. I do hope that you found this whole session really, really helpful. I do hope that you guys can learn how to use it, that you can be confident in using it, and that when you go on holidays, whether it's Singapore or in other countries, that you are able to use the app confidently. You can DIY in other countries. I go to Indonesia, right? I've used Google Maps. Australia, I use Google Maps. Where else? I do it in Hong Kong. I've done it in Japan. Malaysia, definitely, right? So we've gone to a whole lot of places, right? Just using Google Maps. In fact, when I went to Austria for the first time, Europe, right? I also used that, right? Use Google Maps. I can't speak Austrian, I can't speak German, but yeah, you use Google Maps, you figure out how to get there, you figure out the routes, you figure out which train to catch, right? Etc. etc. It's all via Google Maps, right? So, I don't know, I mean, maybe the days of the travel agent are numbered, right? Because now you don't need tour guides anymore, tour agencies. You can just use your app and do it yourself, right? That's the way that I've done it, okay? Certainly recommend it to the rest of you as well, okay? So, wish you a pleasant week and speak to you guys next week. Bye!